All right. So it is recording now. All right. So everybody, my name is Alex Chavers. I'm with the Office of Water Services in the Water Division at ADEM, previously with drinking water for 4 years, 2 years in each of the sections. And I'm sort of the lead person for EMOR. Sort of from beginning to end, I've worked with our developers to put this application together. And the goal here is to make it easy and a similar process for you to submit data to us, but make it much easier for us to actually use that data for anything, compliance wise or assistance wise or whatever. PDF is not the greatest format for us to get this data. So what the plan is for today is to basically walk through a demonstration of entering data for a purchase system, and then using that data to prepare and submit a report to us for compliance, and then being able to view that submission. So I'm going to go through the options for data entry, and then we'll go through how to prepare and submit that report, and then we'll look at that submission as it comes to us and what ends up going in the file. So like I said, you should be able to see my screen. What I'm sharing here is our EDWRS home screen. This is our staging environment, so it might look slightly different than what you see. I'm doing that because I can't work in our production environment to test this. So the first thing I want to point out is I will go to what you typically see as a home page. This is our EDWRS homepage. You see announcements. This is where we post sort of relevant, recent information. Try to keep this up to date anytime we do a big release or a bug fix or something that's coming up like a CCR or something like that. At the bottom, you have the sign in button. Below that sign in button, there's a couple links that could be useful. The quick start guide is great if you're trying to get new users added to the system. It's sort of real basic. Here's the steps to get someone signed up, get them identity proofed, and get them able to submit. The user guide is comprehensive, covers everything in the application in detail, including how to enter data, prepare, and submit EMOR. So there's a whole section in there about EMOR if you need sort of a visual guide on how to do some of this stuff. And it has been updated with the most recent changes to the application. So with that being said, I'll jump back to our stage system. So I'm going to sign in as an external user. So I'm pretending that I am you guys. So I've made an account in here, given myself some permissions with some water systems. Oh, and before I get started, if you have any questions, you can raise your hand. I can see those, or you can type it in the chat, and then I'll try to answer those, and you can ask them as we go along, or you can save them, and I'll have time for just open questions at the end. So let me see if I can get logged in here, hopefully. Okay, so I've just logged in as an external user. So I'm going to show you under my account, my permissions. I've got permissions as an administrator for Avon and a preparer for Asbury. And those are two purchase-only water systems. So the only facilities they have are consecutive connections. And so that's what we're going to focus on today. To get started, this screen or this application should look familiar. What you normally do is go to documents, submit a document, you go through here, you'd select, your water system, your EMOR, your period, choose a PDF, upload it, you'd be done. So what we're going to do now with the EMOR is instead of going to documents, we're going to go to the EMORS section in the application. And then you're going to start off by doing data entry. So this system was sort of designed to replace your existing spreadsheet if you don't want to use it anymore. You can just use this application to track all your data. So we'll start with Avon. They have a single master meter, the most simplest reporting you could possibly imagine. So we'll open up. So what we do is we select our water system. Well, first, let's talk about this page. On this page, you can see we have daily data entry option, a monthly data entry option, the option to export our requirements to Excel, and the option to import from a template. The daily is exactly what it says. Let's open up, say, we'll go to September. We'll open up the daily. what you're going to see is a drop-down list of facilities. Facilities for purchase systems are going to basically include master meters, 1 to however many you have for each connection. And you've probably heard us asking for this information. How many meters do you have? Where are they at? And this is why. It's because we want those facilities reflected and you to be able to report on them. So when I open up a facility, there's a few things you see. One, there's a date selector over here. It's limited to the month. So we're in September 2025. So you can pick any day in that month to report data for. And then when you select it, you'll see a label on the left that indicates sort of a set of limits or set of parameters. For master meters, it's real basic. Just flow and chlorine is typically what y'all report. Some people may be also reporting master meter readings. You may be reporting other things. Just work with your inspector if there's a requirement that's not there or that is there that you want to discuss. As far as what you're required to report, flow and chlorine is the absolute minimum for consecutive connections. And then we go up from there if there's other things that your inspector wants you to report. So here, let's say I'm I'm an operator, I'm out in the field, I'm at my connection, I'm checking my meter and I'm checking my chlorine. I can pull this up on my phone. This website, this application, I can log in on my phone. I can go to this daily data entry and I can punch those numbers in right there, save it, and then it's done. For September 1, it's done. Let's say I'm going out on September 2. I can continue to do that throughout the month. Each day I can just log in here, punch in my data, and that's all I have to do. And at the end of the month, all that data is now available to me to report. So you can go through each day of the month. If you're just tracking it externally in like your old Excel spreadsheet or some other method, or you're just getting a report at the end of the month that you want to upload, then the monthly data entry is probably where you want to go. So I'm going to go back to Avon. I'll go back to September, and we'll look at this monthly data entry. And this, you'll see another drop down at the top. And this drop down is slightly different in that it groups facilities together. So all the consecutive connections would be grouped together in this interconnections group. So if I had 15 consecutive connections, they would all show up right here on this page in a spreadsheet that goes across the page. As you can see, the data I just put in for the daily is already here in this spreadsheet. So this spreadsheet is supposed to sort of recreate, and I downloaded a copy. Let me open this up real quick. So this is what ADEM has provided in the past. This is our standard purchase water system monthly operational report. And our online spreadsheet was designed to basically mimic this format. So we're going to have our consecutive connection, our facility, our set of limits, our parameters that we're reporting, and we're going to have those just repeated across the page. And so, like I said, just like the daily, you can use this monthly spreadsheet to come in here every day, punch in data, come in here at the end of the month and punch in data. The key here is that this is just your data entry. It's just a place to put your data until you're ready to submit it to us. So you can keep it externally, move it all in at once. You can track it in here without the need for an external spreadsheet. Whatever you decide to do, it's kind of up to you until you get ready to submit it to us. So let's say we've got some data. I've got some data here for flow and chlorine. I'm just going to copy and paste it in. So this spreadsheet does support copy and paste, which you just saw me do. I'll make these numbers make sense a little bit more. So you can see if you have an external spreadsheet where you're keeping your data, you can literally just copy and paste it in here. Just make sure that you're matching up the right facilities and the right parameters, that your spreadsheet sort of matches ours. To ensure that your spreadsheet is matching ours, you can export your requirements. You can click this export to Excel button at any time, and it will grab those current requirements and it will spit you out a spreadsheet. Let's see. That looks, so this is what we just downloaded over here on the right side. It'll spit you out a spreadsheet that looks exactly like the online spreadsheet, and you can use that to track your data. And the benefit to using our export is that you can track it in that, and then you can import it. So you just saw me type all this data in here, or copy all this data in here. I'm gonna, Sorry, I forgot me to download them. So I'm gonna fill up this external spreadsheet here. And I'm gonna save that. So all right. So we're back on the application now. Hold on, sorry, I don't know why. Okay. So we're back on our online spreadsheet. You see we filled out data for September 2025. So we'll go back to our data entry. We'll select Avon again, and we'll go back to that period, and we'll go back to monthly. And you can see that, oh, I did not save that data, my bad. That's a good, a lesson is always click save, and you want to see this green success message up here where it says monthly data successfully saved. If you don't do that, it might not save. So I'm going to save that again, and we'll go out, and then we'll go back into it for September, and we'll look, and you can see all that data is now saved. So this online spreadsheet is working just like your Excel, except for it's saved in our system. It's getting backed up. You really can't lose it. And honestly, for a basic purchase system with 1 meter, that's it. You fill up this online spreadsheet and you've done your data entry. Now, let's say you're reached the end of the month, you're ready to submit that data to us. The second option in the EMOR's navigation menu is prepare monthly report. So we'll go to that. We'll select our water system. We'll select the monitoring period, September, and then we'll just click prepare new report. And what you see when you click prepare new report is it takes you to this form. This form, and this is why I downloaded, this is the standard form that you have used for years and years. You'll notice this little section on the left is sort of a water loss calculation. What we did, because this needed to be a universal form for all water systems, is we just sort of generalized this form. And that's what you're seeing here when you get ready to submit. You're seeing that same information that people were putting in. It's just generalized. So now this form works for all systems. So for Avon, you know, I don't know what their actual numbers are, but they don't pump any surface water. They don't pump any groundwater. How much did they purchase? They, would keep up with this, but since we have it in a spreadsheet over here, we'll just say 42. And then water sold is one I see that gets confused a lot. So water sold is your total water sold to other water systems, to customers, to whoever you sold water to. So it's not just your water sold to other water systems. So this should never be zero, or you probably aren't making any money as a water system. So, let's just say, okay, we sold 35. And if you notice, these are small numbers, but this is in units of 1,000 gallons. So it's 42,000, 35,000. If we had known loss, so we had a fire hydrant bust, pipe burst, whatever, let's say we lost 5,000 gallons. This form automatically calculates the water loss based on what you put in this form. The units aren't really as important in this form as long as they're consistent across the form. So as long as they're all in 1,000 gallons or they're all in gallons, the water loss calculations will be the same. Then once you're done with that form, you just hit save. And you'll notice once you hit save on any item in here, you get a little green check mark. It says, hey, I'm done with this. There is a comments tab up here. If you want to add comments, let's say you didn't use a master meter that month, this might be a good place to say, didn't exercise emergency connections or something like that. And that would give us some indication where if I didn't submit data for something, why didn't it? Especially important for systems that have like a lot of wells and their wells go down a lot, telling us, hey, this well was down for 2 weeks or this master meter was down for 2 weeks. But what you're going to see on this left-hand side is you'll see these list of items. So we got a general flow balance form. It now has a green check mark because we completed that form and we saved it. You'll see this interconnections group, which sort of matches that spreadsheet group that you were putting data in for. What you have to do in order to submit this to us is approve this data. So this is saying, yeah, I've entered data for the month, but now I've actually reviewed it and I'm approving that this data is accurate. I'm saying this data is accurate to the best of my knowledge. So when you click approve, you'll see the data tab gets a little check mark, interconnections gets a little check mark, and it says data successfully approved, and the submit report button becomes active. So you can go ahead and submit this report. I do want to point out that let's say you hit approve and you realize this should have been 1.8 or something like that. You can remove the data approval, and then you can click revise data, and that will take you right back. Let's say that should have been 1.8. And then you hit save and return, and it brings you right back to this page where you can then approve the data. So once data is sort of in this preparation phase, you can't edit it through the data entry. It sort of becomes locked because it's part of a pending report. So you have to use these remove data approval, revise data, and approve data functions to sort of lock that data in for the report. But either way, we've approved the data. We've got full green check marks. We can submit the report. Before we do that, we're going to go back to this prepare monthly report page, and you'll see we have a pending report here for the period we just did. The status is report complete, ready to submit. And then we have three options. We can view that pending report, which we were just looking at. We can submit it, or we can delete it. Let's say I went to submit this, but I realized, man, I left out 4 of my master meters data. I can, and I can't edit it through the data entry because there's a pending report. I can just delete it, go back to data entry, put in the stuff that's missing, and then start that report over. That's sometimes easier than using the revised data to jump back and forth. But let's say we're good with the data, the form's done, we want to go ahead and submit it. This process is exactly like you're used to with your document submission. It'll take a second to sort of spin up the report, and then you'll be presented with the challenge questions and the password. I do want to point out that before you submit, you have the opportunity here to review. So I can click this review report button, and it will actually show me what that report is going to look like as it comes to ADEM. So you see it downloads the report. So this is what will actually be produced and submitted to us. This is what will show up in the file. So we've got that general flow balance form here, any comments we added here, and then the next page is just the data that we submitted. The year, month, water system, what group it's for, the data, it's got the min-max average on there. And then this page right here on the when you do this for compliance, we'll actually show you this. The review won't show you the submitted date or submitted by because it hasn't been submitted yet. If this is populated, that means it's been submitted. So review looks good. So we'll go ahead and answer our questions and we'll get it submitted. Like I said, and this process, I mean, y'all been doing this every month with your EMORs forever. So this should be really straightforward. We'll just submit. It takes about 10 to 20 seconds, depending on the complexity of the system, to actually get submitted. And you'll see a little spinning, item in your tab up here, in your browser tab that says, "Hey, I'm thinking." Once it's submitted, you get a green success message, and then that report shows up here for you to download. If you like to keep a paper copy, you can click that, and you can see the actual submitted report, and you can see submitted on 10/7, submitted by Alex Chavers, and then it has all the other information that it had before. So if you like to say keep a copy, a paper copy for your records, you could print that and stick it in your file. And then I'm gonna go back to the prepare monthly report. You see, we no longer have pending reports. And then I'm sort of walking back through these steps. If we go back to Avon and choose that same period and go back, what you'll see is the data is not gone from the data entry. The raw data is still there. It does not disappear. It is not removed. And that's so if we come back a month later and ask you to revise something, you can fix whatever it is in your data and resubmit that report very easily without having to, go find that data, go look for that data, go find that Excel, all that kind of stuff. So that data it stays permanently in those data entry tables, and you can always use it to submit revised reports off of. And in the future, we may be able to provide access to for you to get at that raw data to do something with, provide you some reports to sort of export it back out if you want to look at like, hey, my last 2 years of flow type of data. So there's a lot of reasons to keep this raw data in place. So that's the basic process for a purchase system. So I will do want to just open it up for questions now, and then see what kind of questions you guys have, or if y'all want to see something again because I'm too fast or whatever. And then I'm going to show y'all one more thing before I sort of call it quits. So. Okay. If there's no questions, what I want to do is go back to data entry and go through it just one more time, and just talk to the whole process, because I think from a lot of the calls and emails that we've gotten, there's...
Hey, Alex, I think Keith has a question.
Okay. Let's see.
I couldn't unmute him.
Yeah, it's all right, Keith. Let me see. Let me find you in the list. Keith. I don't think he's muted. It's weird. It shows you muted, but try to mute and unmute. Or yeah, there you go. Try now.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, and probably you're fixing to touch base on this, but I seen you went over it a while ago. But after you put in your data and stuff like that, to approve that, because last month I had to convert it over to PDF because the submission button, when I went to hit submit, it would not let me. It was like the no icon, or like the little Ghostbusters icon.
Yeah, the red circle.
Yeah. And so that's something that you showed us a while ago that I have never seen before, was how to approve the data.
Okay. Yeah, and I will walk back through that in just a second, so you can see it one more time. Yeah, I know I can talk a little fast and go through it kind of fast, so I was going to back up and sort of go through the steps one more time just to make sure everybody saw.
Okay.
So yeah, I'll talk specifically about because there's sort of before, you were keeping all this data in an Excel, you'd print it to PDF and you'd upload it. So your data entry part was really happening outside of the application. And then the submittal part was happening inside the application. And what we've essentially done is move the data entry part into the application. And then the submittal process it requires an extra step or two, just to sort of like say, okay, I'm approving this data, and I'll show you what that looks like. So when we talk about data entry, like I said, you can do data entry daily or monthly online in our spreadsheet or our form. You can export those requirements to Excel. I did want to quickly show, so someone asked a question about multiple water systems while I'm here, Amanda. So if you notice, when I do this PWS ID dropdown, I have both Asbury and Avon. They're two purchase systems, but you could have, if you're an operator who submits EMORs for 4 or 5 water systems, you work with multiples, and some of them are grade 1, grade 2. It doesn't matter, as long as you make sure you select the right water system here and the right monitoring period when you're entering that data and when you're preparing the report, you can submit for any number of water systems. The requirements do look slightly different for your grade 2, grade 3, grade 4. And I'll be doing another one on Thursday morning that's focused on the grade 2, grade 3 systems. But so right now, all you're seeing is this interconnections group, these master meters, and that's because this is more focused for purchase. But if you had other facilities, you would see other options in those drop downs for entering data. So for Asbury, for example, let's look at September. I'm just going to export their requirements to Excel. Just right off the bat, choose a monitoring period, export it. So this is what their requirements look like. As you can see, they get an interconnections tab at the bottom because they only have master meters, and then they get those parameters for each master meter we have on record for them. if these master meters aren't correct, or you have other ones, or some of these are inactive, just talk with your inspectors, work with them to get your inventory correct. But, so I'm going to punch in, and when I say punch in, I'm just going to make up some data to put in here real quick, because what I want to show y'all the import. So if you have a bunch of master meters, I'm just going to copy all this just to make this quicker. All right, so I've got data for my master meters and my chlorine. I'm going to save that. So I could download this, keep it local, keep my data in there, just like I have been doing for years. Once I have that data ready to go for a month, I do have the ability to import. So if I choose that file, choose it from my downloads where I just filled it out, start that import, it will read that file and it will bring that in. So yeah, September 2025. And it uses whatever water system and monitoring period selected at the top there. It imports it. So now if I go and look at Asbury, all that data is there. So if you export our template and use that to track your data externally for each month, you can just import it that quick into our system. Your data entry is done. So I did want to point that out. That's something that the more complex systems really ask for, like the surface water systems, because they have a ton of data. But I mean, I think it could be useful, especially if you've got 4 or 5 master meters that you're already tracking in some way. Just set it up in our template and then import that at the end of the month. Could be the easiest option for you to do data entry. It's however you decide to get it into our system is completely up to you, as long as it's in there when you go to this prepare monthly report option. So Keith, I'm going to show now for that data I just imported for Asbury for September. I'm going to do the same process. I'll select them from the on the prepare monthly report page. I'll select them from the water system. Yeah, Jeff, in the data entry, let me, you'll notice all these flow parameters are flow maximum in units of 1,000 gallons. If you prefer to report in a different way, master meter readings, just that's probably the most common. Or if you want to report both master meter readings and flow, just work with your inspector. There is a parameter available for master meter readings. Just know that you may not get automatically calculated flows when you go to submit your report on that general flow balance form. It may not auto calculate the purchased volume. You may have to put that number in manually, which I think we'll see in just a second. So on the prepare monthly report, we'll choose Asbury. This is who we just imported data for, September 2025. We'll hit, oh, that's not what I meant to do. Let me go back to that. I didn't select a period. All right, prepare a new report. All right, so I want to point out 2 things on this one. Is you'll see this message up here that says user does not have permission to submit for the PWS. So this account is only a preparer for Asbury. So I can do certain things, but I cannot actually submit the report. So I'm just going to go in, put in some numbers. Let's see, that's fine. And you'll see, obviously all these numbers are made up. I hit enter on the form that time instead of clicking save. And you'll notice it says general form answer saved successfully. I get my nice green check mark. I don't have any comments, so I'm not going to leave any. And then Keith, to your question, any of these sort of looking pages that has an item on the left and then it's data, there's 2 options at the bottom here. The idea, there's two reasons this is here. One, this is a Chromair compliant application, which means you sort of have to say, yes, I'm good with this data before you submit it. There's sort of a component there where you have to approve it. The other one is, we do want you to just take another second to just look at the data. Do you see any anomalies? Do you see, especially for like surface water systems where turbidities can trigger violations being over certain values, like they will regularly mess up decimal places, things like that. Like if you see a chlorine of 12, you might want to jump back and revise that data. But let's just say you looked at it, The only thing you have to do on these pages, if you feel confident about it, is click approve. And that gives you the green check mark here, gives you the green check mark here. And then if I had permissions, would light up this submit report button. So I'm going to log in as I'm going to go give myself permissions basically. So I can submit that report. So I've got, this is our internal. So I'll make myself a certifier. That's my internal administrator account. So obviously, if y'all are doing that, y'all be requesting those permissions from your administrator or asking us to make those changes for you. So I'll log back in. All right, so log back in, go to prepare, and you'll see that report's now there. It says report complete, ready to submit, and that button is now green because I have permissions. So I can click submit. And then let's see. I'll type my password, hit enter. That'll spin, like I said, usually about 10, 15 seconds. It goes through a process where it has to run through all that data and then produce the PDF. It has to send that to some submission service and then come back. So, and then now you'll see I've got the one I did for Avon right here and the one I just did for Asbury right here. So we can download it and take a look. And you'll see it looks very similar. Got your general flow balance form. There's no comments, but it does have a placeholder for it. And it just shows those consecutive connections here. If you had, say, 10, 12, 13 consecutive connections, it sort of limits how many columns are on a page. So it just breaks to a new page. And that's pretty much the whole process. I mean, I think for purchase systems only, y'all have it the easiest because y'all have the easiest requirements, the most basic requirements for submittal. It's just, I think, do it once or twice and it'll be routine. So did that answer your question, Keith, about the approval?
It did, because okay. I have not seen that at the bottom before where it said approved data. So I think that's what I missed out on last month because I had to convert it over to PDF and all that. So we tried
real hard to sort of fit everything, but that spreadsheet gets, at that page a lot of times, and I'll show you a lot of times when I go to that page, like, I have this monitor I'm on is like a huge monitor, but if I'm, a lot of people's looks like this. And so, we thought about putting it at the top, but then we thought people would just click it without actually looking at the data. So it's kind of, but if you notice, I sort of zoom in and out on my screen a lot when I'm in here to make this whole thing visible. And it may be something to consider when you're working in here is just zooming out in your browser to make everything visible. All right. Does anybody have any other questions? Okay. I'm gonna end this on just to say, don't forget about the user guide. It does walk through these steps with some visual pictures and nice, simple instructions on how to do this. When it comes to requirements, work with your inspector on those. They have the ability to update and change and modify and add, remove type of thing. And then don't hesitate to call when you have it pulled up and you need someone to sort of hold your hand as you walk through. So I'm just hoping that all the people that aren't on this call maybe will come back and watch this video. So, but I'm going to end the recording there.